What's going on, family? Welcome to the ride. Uh, how we doing? How are we? I hope everybody's doing safe and feeling blessed. This June 25th, 2026, ladies and gentlemen, can y'all imagine that already? I'm sorry, hold on. What's going on with my camera? We are already near the end of June, which means we're going to be in July. And, you know, the year is not over yet. We're almost halfway through the year. For some reason, my camera, okay. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Looks like my camera is acting up. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep coming on or not. Make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Let's come on in. Let's come on in. Shout out to all my people that are watching via Facebook, via Rumble, and X. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Yeah, X is always showing me love. Whenever I come on, X always shows me love. Let me just let people know that we are live. We're going to come in and we're going to be talking about June 25th, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about June 25th. So, as you all know, it is Black Music Month. Let's get in. Let's get in. Shout out to whoever's watching on channel Gboot2786. Yeah, make sure we smash up the likes. That video that I shared, of course, we're talking about and commemorating the 17th anniversary of the death of Michael Jackson. I actually remember where I was when this happened. I've talked about it before on this channel. It's hard to believe that this was 17 years ago. I know that Michael earlier that year had announced he was going to be doing a concert tour. He was supposed to be in O2 Arena in London, England, and he was doing his preparing for his This Is It tour. That was in June of 2009. He had been rehearsing, and that Thursday, which coincidentally it is a Thursday today, I distinctly remember where I was. I was at home from work. I was off from work that day, and I just was chilling on my computer, just reading stuff. And there was a Facebook post that came up from someone, and I can't remember the name, but somebody had said they had heard Michael Jackson died, and I didn't pay it any mind because Michael Jackson's been killed about 4 or 5 times. You know, there have been multiple times, 500 times. We've heard stuff about Michael. I heard people would say all kinds of stuff about him. Rumors always swirled about Michael Jackson because he was, and to me, he still is, the greatest entertainer of all time and one of the most famous men to ever walk this earth. I mean, he could not go anywhere without walking, he couldn't even cross the street to get his mail without a camera being flashed in his face or people parked outside to get a glimpse of him. So, like his brother Marlon even alluded to at his public memorial at the Staples Arena. But I remember where I was when the news happened, and let me see if I can just play. Yeah, I remember when CNN covered it, and I remember stuff.
We're getting some breaking news coming into the situation right now from about Michael Jackson, the king of pop, who's 50 years old. Let's go to Deborah Farrick. She's working the story for us. What are we picking up, Deb?
Well, here's what we can tell you. This is what's being reported by KTLA. Apparently, Michael Jackson suffered cardiac arrest this afternoon. He was rushed to UCLA Medical Center.
At 12:21 this afternoon, the Los Angeles 911 operators took a call in regards to a need for a medical emergency at the 100 block of Candlewood Drive, which is in West Los Angeles. When the paramedics got on scene, they treated the patient and then immediately transported the patient to UCLA.
We just talked to Brian Oxman. He is the family attorney for the Jackson, and he says that according to Randy Jackson, Michael Jackson's brother, Michael Jackson collapsed in his home in West Los Angeles this morning, and they called paramedics. He says that the family is either at UCLA Medical Center or en route to UCLA Medical Center.
CNN sources are now saying, multiple sources, that Michael Jackson is in a coma at UCLA Medical Center, suffered from cardiac arrest, and is now in a coma.
If you look at the aerials that you're showing on air, and you see the number of people that have already gathered outside the hospital, if that is a testament to the star power of Michael Jackson, I don't know what is.
And this is the day that, and coincidentally, you see that little disclaimer, that little ticker at the bottom. Farrah Fawcett had also passed away of cancer, too. Of course, when she passed, a lot of people weren't talking about it as well, but that was because, Michael Jackson's passing was huge. At that time, that broke the internet. The internet, I remember, was down in some places, and the Facebook searches, the Google searches went up. There was also a renewal in buying all of Michael Jackson's music. And, this period where he was in, of course, they call it a comeback tour, but I don't know if it would be appropriate to call it a comeback because Michael Jackson really never left. They tried to knock him off multiple times back in 93, back in 2003, and finally and sadly, they did this with, I said 2003, 2005, and finally in 2009, because, what made Michael an enemy was the fact that he had bought and purchased that catalog, in my opinion, in 1985, August of 1985, the ATV catalog that he had eventually did merge with Sony and owned half of Sony's music publishing and owned the ATV publishing, which included the Beatles. Every time I say the Beatles, I got to give the British accent for some reason. And that contained both the Beatles, some of Elvis's music, as well as Little Richard and Sly and the Family Stone, the Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose, Nat King Cole, a lot of black artists. And Michael, of course, there's another story with that, but Michael gave Little Richard back his music publishing for nothing. Dick Gregory has told that story, and that's been confirmed from a lot of people. But also, he gave Sly Stone back royalties, and that was the reason why Michael Jackson actually bought that catalog. He was impressed with the amount of black artists that were on the ATV catalog. But I'm getting off topic. I want to get back, of course. There was a renewed interest in Michael Jackson's catalog after he passed. And I remember where I was. I saw initially those reports on Facebook that he had passed. I disregarded them. And a few hours later, that evening, my mom came home. Now, I didn't have the TV on cable when my mother came home or anything like that. I wasn't watching TV, like talking about it, so I missed the news coverage. And it was not until my mom got home from work. I was 23 at the time. And my mom and we were talking. We went in the bathroom. We had a big house. And we talked, and she sat down, and she said, I had some bad news to tell you. And I said, what? And my back was turned as I was walking in the hallway. And she said, Michael Jackson died. And I turned around, and my mouth dropped. Because now, putting it together with what I saw on Facebook, and my mom saying it, then it's got to be true. And sure enough, of course, I didn't want to believe it, but then when I saw it on CNN, and if it's on CNN, the thinking at that time, I was naive. I thought
just getting this in right now, and it's very, very sad news. Jim Moray, and to all of our viewers, both the Los Angeles Times and CBS News are both now reporting that Michael Jackson has died. CNN has not confirmed that, but the LA Times and CBS News are reporting that Michael Jackson, 50 years old, the king of pop, has died. A very, very sad moment.
What was Michael Jackson doing in Los Angeles before he was taken to the hospital? What new information do you have for us?
Well, we do know that he's been in Los Angeles preparing to undertake this major concert event that he was scheduled to perform in London.
I have to stop you for a second, AJ. CNN can now confirm from the LA coroner that Michael Jackson is dead.
Yeah. And Larry King, I remember him interviewing everybody, interviewing Smokey Robinson, Liza Minnelli, Usher, a whole plethora of people. For the next, I want to say 2-3 weeks, even longer, months, and even into next year, it was all about Michael Jackson because people were wondering what was going to, how did this happen? Because Michael was still fairly young. He's 50 years old. And he's getting ready to do this tour. And we're hearing, of course, reports coming out how he's there with a doctor living with him. And somehow, he collapses and dies while his doctor's at home. And we're finding out he's injecting him with all this medicines because Michael can't sleep. Then it came out, of course, that the tour he was doing, This Is It with AEG Live, this was not it because he had only agreed to do 10 shows and they ended up increasing the number of shows to 50. And both his father, Joe Jackson, late Joe Jackson, as well as his sister LaToya and a few other people, his attorneys, I believe some of his attorneys. I mean, even Minister Farrakhan had stated that Michael had tried to reach out to him because he was having trouble because they upped the amount of shows on him. And I always suspected, in my humble opinion, I don't have proof of it, but Michael has even confirmed it and stated that there were people who were out to get him because of his catalog. Now, if you know me, you know that I've done shows, especially in the past 3-4 years, about Sam Cooke and Otis Redding. I talked about how they were targeted for their catalogs. A lot of people suspected that, how they ended up passing. We've talked about even what happened with Dr. Cosby when he tried to buy NBC. A whole bunch of things happen. Mysterious people end up around them or associated with them. They end up either in some type of scandal or someone close or they pass away in mysterious circumstances. Michael Jackson was no different. And of course, his family, I know they would eventually file a wrongful death suit against AG that got dismissed. Conrad Murray did do time, although he didn't do a lot of time, for the death of Michael Jackson. And this is someone who was a physician. And to my knowledge, he's still practicing law. I'm sorry, he's still practicing medicine. I said law. He's still practicing medicine in another state or out of this country, rather. That's what I've read. He only served 2 years. He was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. His medical license was revoked and his license in California and Nevada was suspended. But my understanding, he still practices medicine. Yeah, he has a medical center in San Juan, Trinidad, and Tobago. He also is allowed to, according to a report in 2022, the Nevada State Board of Medical Examiners allowed him to retain his medical license. Who the hell is going to him for treatment? Who's going to him to get treated? Even if you don't think Mike was taken out on purpose, would you go to this physician? And he even released a memoir entitled This Is It. And he tried to say Michael injected himself as his defense. I don't know about that. And apparently Mike had, they're trying to say, had dependency on medicine, on drugs. I know he had painkillers from that Pepsi accident that really changed his life. That was back in 1984. He was never the same. Michael was never the same after that. He had to have reconstructive surgery on his scalp and so forth. And let me take this demon off the screen. Yeah, he was scarred. Yeah. So he never really recovered from that. So yeah, man. And I remember his memorial. His memorial was one of the most watched events of all time. If I'm not mistaken, it's the most watched live event ever. Uh, the memorial of Michael Jackson. Let me put this on here. That was in July. July 7th. That was another Thursday. According to the reports, it was estimated that more than 2.5 billion people watched the event worldwide, which makes it the most watched non sports television broadcast in history. According to Nielsen, 31.1 million Americans watched the service live on TV, an amount comparable to the 35.1 million who watched the state funeral of Ronald Reagan, while over 59.5 million US viewers tuned in via streaming. Wow. So, even in death, Mike was still a man. Mike was still a man. And yet, and he could pull an audience. Now, just imagine had he lived and done this tour, which it sold out, by the way, but had the tour been successful and Mike was in debt, the debt would have been paid off based off the tour, more than likely. And he probably would have kept the catalog. Right. I remember, yeah, they had all of these speakers that spoke: Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant. You also had Queen Latifah, Andre Crouch, Mariah Carey, Jennifer Hudson. Yeah, Martin Luther King III, Bernice King. Yeah, a bunch of people. Lionel Richie. Yeah, all of them. Yeah, Stevie Wonder. Yeah, Stevie was tore up about it. I didn't know until later on that Stevie Wonder was actually cousins with Michael through their mothers, respectively. I believe Catherine and Lula Hayward, who is Stevie's mom, are related. So Joe was right. It is in the blood. Yeah, poor Farrah Fawcett. It has been a long time since I've been live, Mark. I don't do them as periodically. Like I said, I've gotten busy with other stuff and just life happens. And, I'm not getting paid for doing this on ScrewTube or even X or Scrumble. So, y'all go ahead and just hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Share it with people you know who would actually follow me. And hey, you can even drop something if you want to support me in the Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle. But no, I haven't been coming on with great frequency, and just dealing with some uh, family stuff too. So I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, man, 17 years ago, we lost the king of pop. It's still hard to believe. It's still hard to get over for me that he's gone. And Michael Jackson only, you noticed, ever since Michael Jackson, Prince, Whitney Houston, and I know Clive Davis just passed, and I have to do another video about him. The nefarious stuff I've heard about him. Yeah, Clive Davis. Yeah. But Whitney Houston. Since those artists have passed, music truly has not been the same. If you think about it, music has, since those big names have gone, we've gotten more, and not saying necessarily it's a bad thing, but the originality and the time and effort that artists like a Prince and Michael put in has gone. It's just not the same anymore. Our artists who we love and grew up with have passed on or have gotten sick and elderly. Charlie Wilson, I didn't notice, but get well soon, and Charlie Wilson had a stroke. Uncle Charlie, I learned from Ed Gordon. It was on Ed Gordon's Facebook page that Charlie Wilson was recovering from a stroke, and he was actually performing in Baltimore. So I heard he made a recovery in his return, but he had to learn how to walk again. I couldn't believe that. Yeah, Peabo Bryson, of course, had passed a couple of weeks ago from a stroke. Yeah. Charlie is 73 years old. Yeah. You know something too? I know we're talking about Mike, but I was reading. I don't think Charlie Wilson was actually. Yeah, Charlie Wilson is not even in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. I don't know if the Gap Band is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but they need to be. The Gap Band. The Gap Band. I'm gonna tell you the best R&B bands of all time. Maze featuring Frankie Beverly, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and the Gap Band in that order. Now, maybe you could say Maze and Earth, Wind, and Fire could change up, but something like that. You know, Maze, Frankie Beverly doesn't get a lot of credit. Charlie Wilson, for all the songs that he's written in the career he's had, I don't believe he's even in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. And I mean, he co-wrote hits. Yeah, he should be in there. But yeah, get well, brother Charlie. Yeah, he did an interview with Big Boy about his recovery from a stroke and the medical emergency. You wouldn't think that, but yeah, get well soon. But yeah, according to it, his wife actually caught it. But I think his wife, Charlie Wilson's wife, is in the medical field, so that was a blessing to have. But Spirit says it doesn't seem that long ago. Yeah, we're talking about Michael. No, yeah, it was 2009. Yeah, time has flown so fast. You don't think about it because we get caught up and busy doing other stuff. But yeah, I salute to the king of pop. ladies and gentlemen, and how you remember Michael Jackson and his legacy. Also, they had a lot of books, a lot of stuff coming about on Michael. Some books to read, especially about Mike and his demise. If I'm not, they're trying to assassinate this man's character 17 years later. But Leonard Rowe, who was a concert promoter, he wrote a book on Michael called "What Happened to Michael Jackson, the King of Pop: The Evil Side of the Industry." Yeah, he said he was suspicious of stuff. Yeah, I've heard about that. The people that came into his life afterwards, once the deals were signed. Yeah, you go to Art of Dialogue, his bodyguard, Bill Whitfield, even talked about how Mike told him, shout out to Art of Dialogue. He's been having some fire contact. How Michael said once he signed the contracts that the snakes are going to be coming out. And sure enough, they were. Yeah, Frank DeLeo, John Brinken came back. Leonard Rowe and Michael's father has stated that he would have never rehired those guys again. So hold on, if I can play the video, fair use. This came out, yes, yeah. I remember when all of this was coming out. What's going on, one who cares? This is old, but I got it queued up. Hold on. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with the computer. Hold on. Browser's acting up.
New details from our exclusive interview with Michael Jackson's father, Joe, about his son's upcoming run of 50 sold-out performances in London, about concerns for his health. We'll also talk exclusively to one of Michael's oldest friends and ask, was the King of Pop really ready for such a demanding tour schedule? Here's ABC's Chris Connolly.
What did you think of the comeback tour? Did you think it was a good idea for Michael to do?
The comeback tour was a good idea, but the wrong idea about it, there was more tours added on to it. Michael only agreed that what he told me. Michael told me this himself. And he only agreed to 10 shows. But then he added all these other shows. I was worried about his health because all the shows that I'm seeing, no artist can do those many shows, back to back like that. And so, Michael couldn't do all those shows without some rest in between.
But the tour's producers have said Michael was performing at a high level and would have had lots of rest during the London run. Randy, was 50 shows too many for Michael to be expected to do?
He was going to average 2.25 shows a week. So the truth is, Chris, if that was too many, then one would have been too many.
I don't buy that. And remember, this is not really a tour. It's actually in one city. It's in London. It's not going from London for for 2 nights and then to Paris and 2 nights in a row after the next week, and then Munich, Germany, or where, or Madrid, Spain, anything like that. It's not a full European tour. He's in one city.
He built up his stamina. There would have been no problems, I don't think, with him doing this tour. Nobody was pushing him into it. Nobody was overworking him. All those reports are false.
And joining us now is Leonard Rowe. For 30 years, he was a friend of Michael Jackson. At the end of his life, he was also serving for a time as his financial advisor on the tour dates. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Kate.
So start by telling us, we just saw the head of AEG and also Michael's former manager saying he was perfectly ready for 50 shows. He was fit for that. What do you say?
That's totally untrue. Michael Jackson was not ready. He was not fit. If you can call weighing about 110 to 115 pounds, fit, 5 feet 10, wow. No. But besides that, Michael Jackson told me himself when he hired me that he never wanted to do 50 shows. He only agreed to do 10.
Well, let's talk about that. AEG sent us a statement overnight, and Randy Phillips says in that statement, our original agreement with Michael Jackson called for 31 shows. Michael was willing to increase the number of performances to 50. So he says it was Michael's decision, and they have said they think it was about the money.
That's not what Michael told me. Michael told me he agreed to do 10. His first order of the day to me was to go over and rearrange the shows so that it would be something that he could possibly do. I attempted to do that. I spoke to Randy Phillips that following Monday morning on the phone, and he told me to shove off. He didn't want to talk about it.
He says he does not remember having any conversation.
Well, naturally, he would say that.
He looked pretty sharp at his last rehearsal, Michael Jackson, on that tape that we've all seen.
I disagree.
You disagree?
I disagree, and I can tell you why. Every move that you see Michael Jackson making on that rehearsal tape, it's a move that I could do. Michael Jackson do strenuous moves when he's Michael Jackson.
So you don't see the Michael.
You don't see the spinning. You don't see the heavy dancing, the tremendous moves that Michael Jackson is known to make. The moves that they show is naturally his best moves, and if you look at it very carefully, you'll see that they are moves that anybody could do.
We've been talking this morning about the idea that the family, and I know you were involved in this, wanted to intervene and perhaps get him into rehab as late as a week before his death. Why didn't that happen? Why didn't that intervention ever take place?
Well, I personally placed a call to his sister, Reedy. I spoke to his father, and I spoke to his brother, Randy, who I have a lot of admiration for. He had been trying before me to get Michael some help. We was trying to bring everyone together. We had planned to bring everyone together as soon as possible so we could have everyone on board and everyone going in the same direction. But it was a little too late.
You just couldn't get it together.
We couldn't get it together. But I like to say this. I had approached a friend, Randy Phillips, who's an attorney in LA, a couple of months before then. And I told him that Michael would not make it to London unless we intervene and get him some help.
Because of the drug use?
Because of what I felt was an addiction by Michael that he had. And I wanted to get him some help because I knew not only that he wouldn't be able to perform in London, but I never thought he would even make it to London. And I passed that word on. And when I passed it on, what really angers me is they told me to shove off.
Well, clarify this for us. AEG says that Michael Jackson dismissed you in May, and they provided us with a letter that looks to be signed by Michael Jackson. And in that letter, it says, I have decided to streamline my business operations at this time. Accordingly, this is to inform you that you do not represent me, and I do not wish to have any oral or written communications with you regarding the handling of my business and or personal matters. So it looks from that letter like Michael didn't want you or wasn't taking your advice.
Let me say this to you. I never received a letter from Michael saying that. I met with Michael 3 weeks before he died with Randy Phillips over to the Beverly Hills Hotel. But let me say this. Randy Phillips and AEG was controlling Michael with their finances at the end. Michael Jackson was not able to hire his own people. He was not able to do what Michael Jackson wanted to do because everyone knows that Michael Jackson at the end was in a financial strain. So
now, let me say this too, and I want to point out, even though AEG was found not liable for the wrongful death of Michael Jackson and whether or not they hired Conrad Murray, there are emails. I've seen these, although I have not seen them all in everything in their entirety, that seem to verify what Leonard Rowe is saying, in particular that they wanted obviously to pursue with this tour, irregardless of Mike's health. They actually gotten he was suspended. Yeah, they've actually wanted to proceed with the tour. With the promotion. The numbers increased. They were arguing. I saw it looked like a back and forth about Mike's health. There were questions and concerns, especially it looked like from some of the emails they actually confirmed that they did pay money to Dr. Murray, which would have left them in their employ. Now, why the jurors still found that AG was not liable in wrongful death, that's another issue. I haven't looked at it. I could study it and we can go over it. But I certainly think, but I do know this, AEG did have a life insurance policy on Mike, and that was interesting. A lot of people, his family tried to bring that up. There were questions about his will that were brought up, the authenticity of it. I know that, and that family, my understanding, the family had been questioning that and had fights about the will for years. I know his brother Randy, I watched his, if you go to Randy's website, Randy has a website where he even talks about the authenticity of it. No, absolutely not. I love Whitney. Whitney is a legend, but she's not bigger than Mike. Prince, I don't believe is even bigger than Mike, although you can make a strong argument because Prince actually got the catalog. Prince put out and produced his own music, had his own instrumentation. So, although Mike has been doing it just as long, did it just as longer as Prince did, because Mike started when he was 5. Mike was putting out albums when he was about 8, 9, 10 years old. Yeah, about 8 years old when his first records was Big Boy with Steel Town. So let me just finish this video right quick.
They was demanding things of Micah that he did not want to do. Like Micah told me personally, he would never hire Frank DeLeo and John Branca back into his life. He would never bring them back into his life. But AEG saw fit to bring them back into his life the week before he passed. They was making moves like that. And if Michael Jackson wouldn't go along with those moves, I feel that they was threatening to oust everything with him. They was taking care of Michael Jackson financially. And they was forcing him to do things. And if Michael Jackson's best interest had been in their heart, and they would have sought rehab help for Michael, like I suggested, I could venture to say Michael would still be here with us now.
And I believe that. I believe if Michael had gotten rehab, I think Michael had Joe in his life. Joe and his bodyguards, Matt Fideas and Bill Whitfield, have even echoed this because despite their the relationship that they had that's been documented in the media, how Mike really didn't get along with his father, didn't like him, they made peace eventually. And I believe in the early 2000s when Mike gave that speech at Oxford and he actually praised his father and he forgave him. When Michael was in trial back in 2005, Mike, his father was right there by his arm and they were laughing with each other. So we got to remember when people do things to you also, there's something called forgiveness. People can be forgiving in situations. And Joe Jackson is the reason why, of course, we have the Jackson 5 and the Jackson family. And that could not have been done without him pushing them some hard. Now, he probably did go a little too far. Well, I'm not going to say probably. There were moments I'm sure he went far with stuff, although he'll tell you he didn't make any mistakes. Well, only one person in the world doesn't make any mistakes, and God is the only one that doesn't make mistakes. But none of the kids ever had drug, to my knowledge, any drug problems. You never saw Tito break into a liquor store and hold up a cashier. You never saw, of course, there was salaciousness that was going on. I remember with Latoya, with her books and so forth in the 90s, and that stupid psychic hotline she had. I was like, damn. But there was nothing, malicious that they had ever been accused of doing. They never got arrested you never saw them getting arrested, never getting in trouble when they were kids. He kept them off the streets, didn't get hooked up with gangs. So he did a lot of positive things, and he created basically the quintessential boy band, if you think about it, because once the Jackson 5 did it, everybody was doing it. New Edition comes along 10 years later, and so does New Kids on the Block and Boys to Men. You can name them all. You can name Soul for Real, High Five, and all of these groups that I can think of. I'm missing a few other groups that have come along. Yeah, that was all because of the Jacksons. Before I leave out of here, there was an article I was trying to, and I didn't get a chance to do this. I wanted to actually put in a publication. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to. But I wanted to share with you all because, as you know, Mike has come under attack. And Netflix has this documentary that was to air or did air actually a few. Great. Now I'm saying I can't. I'm trying to open it. I thought I had this queued up. Excuse me 1 second. See if I can open it. All right. Hold on, guys. I'm going to have to do something different because it's not opening up for me here. I'm going to have to put it up through the email, and I'm going to share it with you all. And I'm actually going to post it on the YouTube channel. But this is an article I wrote back on May 30th of this year, and I'm gonna share it with y'all here. So I'll just make it public. I ain't not be not gotten paid, but just wanted to put my own thing up here. So it's called "What is the rehashing of the What is it with the rehashing of the Michael Jackson allegations?" I'm a criminal defense attorney. I've been I've worked over 11 years as an attorney. Let me see if can y'all read that? Okay. I've worked over 11 years as an attorney, and 4 of those years were spent as a public defender. So let me start on the outset and say that I have a sense of bias for the defense. At least I'm honest and open about things. I've been open to hear the allegations made against certain celebrities due to the Me Too allegations. I believe people have the right to tell their story and truth. However, I keep in mind that general principle that was established by our court system that all accused of a crime are presumed innocent until proven guilty. That burden rests upon the state to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the guilt of a person they named as a defendant in the charging indictment. A jury composed of 12 people with 2 alternates decided the fate of that person after hearing all arguments, direct examinations, cross examination, rebuttal witnesses, etc. This was all done in the case of the state of California versus Michael Joseph Jackson over 20 years ago. I recall being a student at Tulane University on June 13, 2005. My father picking me up from class and the verdict being read over the radio. A full sweep in favor of Michael Jackson and his defense team led by Tom Mesereau. 14 counts, including 10 felonies and 4 misdemeanors. Tom Sneddon, the DA of Santa Barbara County, had alleged that Michael Jackson, I guess, I don't want to get banned for saying this, but assault basically touched a 13-year-old boy, then 13-year-old Gavin Arvizo, inappropriately. It was no secret that Sneddon was not fond of Jackson after the 1993-94 scandal involving the Chandler family. With the debut of Martin Bashir's misleading documentary Living with Michael Jackson, Sneddon threw all his chips in with the hopes of putting Michael Jackson behind bars. The jury, made up of 7 Caucasians, 4 non-white Hispanics, and 1 Asian, deliberated over 32 hours from the course of 7 days. They found Michael Jackson not guilty, neither because they were fans of his music, nor that they loved his movie Moonwalker, but because they did not believe the prosecution had a strong case. Paulina Kukoc, better known as Juror 10 in this matter, said the following about Tom Sneddon's case. Quote, "It was pretty obvious that there was no molestation done," she said. "It was pretty obvious that there were ulterior motives on behalf of the family. And the mother, Janet Arvizo, she orchestrated the whole thing. That's my opinion. But there wasn't a shred of evidence that was able to show us or give us any doubt in voting not guilty. It was pretty obvious there was no other way to vote other than not guilty." With the release of the Lionsgate film Michael, of course, y'all know, and this is me, I'm stop reading now. That's the biographical film. It's already about to approach $1 billion worldwide. It's the highest grossing biopic of all time, surpassing Oppenheimer. A biographical film starring Jackson's nephew Jafar in the lead role. Old allegations that have since been disproven have now resurfaced and been rehashed. This is in spite of a verdict of not guilty. This is in spite of former child stars such as Emmanuel Lewis, Macaulay Culkin, and Aaron Carter, who have denied anything inappropriate happened with Michael Jackson. And yet, after this, the mainstream media is still trying to figure out how to convict the dead. Somehow, people forgot that innocent until proven guilty in a court of law is how things are decided in this case. When I interviewed Tom Mesereau in 2000, and this actually was in 2020, not 2021, I remember that, he told me that the prosecution had 5 prior bad act witnesses, and all of their stories fell apart upon cross-examination. Wade Robinson, who's featured prominently in Leaving Neverland and is now suing the Michael Jackson estate for abuse, was one of the Michael's witnesses, who never wavered upon heavy cross-examination. He denied initially any sexual abuse occurred. Why is mainstream media rehashing old allegations that have either been disproven or found to have no validity? What is the obsession with attacking a man's image 16 years after his passing? Perhaps it is the very fact that even in death, Michael Jackson is still the biggest draw in show business. The Michael film is already the second highest grossing film of 2026 and is one of the most successful bios of all time. Right on the heels of this, Netflix announced they are releasing a documentary about the 2005 trial. From Bill Cosby to Jermaine Jackson to Martin Luther King Jr., and I also said from Michael Jackson to Bill Cosby, from Jermaine Jackson to Martin Luther King Jr., there is a growing and disturbing rise of Black men, dead or alive, being accused of either crimes with either little to no evidence. Legendary comedian Eddie Griffin alluded to this in his 2015 interview with Vlad TV. Maybe we should let sleeping dogs lie where they are and just leave him alone. Rest in power, Brother Michael. And thank you all for tuning in. If you enjoyed it, smash up a like, smash up the likes, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. That was the draft that I did for those. If you saw it, I wasn't able to get it shipped to any publication in time, but it was something that I had worked on, and it's just my thoughts. And remember the King of Pop today, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you all for tuning in, and rest in power, Brother Michael. And shout out to the Jackson family. Shout out to Taj. I haven't spoken to Taj in the longest, but I hope he's doing well. I saw that they are on X. They've probably posted stuff about this today. I know his brothers, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they actually are back doing music. So that's good. All right. Y'all be safe and be blessed, ladies and gentlemen. I'm out. Good to be back. Good night. Peace. Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today. But if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on do our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates and for the Patreon. It is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace.